Hi, and welcome to this dcpweb tutorial. In today's tutorial, I'm going to be giving you a beginner's guide to using formulas in Microsoft Excel. Okay, so we have a blank spreadsheet open here. I'm just going to hold down the control key and use my mouse wheel to zoom in to make things a little bit easier for you to see. So this is really a beginner's guide to formulas in Excel, Microsoft Excel. So we'll go some basic formulas. I'll put some links in the YouTube description to some more complex formulas that I made in previous tutorials. But let's just do some basic stuff, just so you've got an understanding of how formulas work in Microsoft Excel. So let's just take two numbers. Let's take the number 55. So I'm going to type that into cell A1. And let's take the number 46 or 45. So first thing I want to do is really left align all the content. So I'm going to click up here and just go left align, and then we'll see all of our content left align. So in cell C1, and you know which cell number it is by looking at the top left here. So if you click on any cell, this will be E3, or you can just reference it from this point here. So for cell EC1, this one here, we want to add these two numbers together. So there's actually a few different ways to do this in Excel. There's an automatic function that we can use. So let me just show you that. If I hold down the left mouse button and drag to the left, I can use this function up here, auto sum. So when I click that, I'll get the value 100, right? But I'm going to delete that information and I'm going to type in the equal sign. And then I'm going to go ahead and click on this cell here, 55. And that will say this cell C1 equals A1, which is this 55 value. And then I'm going to hold down the shift key and use the plus sign on my keyboard and then click on B2 cell and then hit enter. So this says that this formula now that we've created, this equals A1 plus B1. When we run that formula, it's adding these two numbers together. So we've manually created that formula. So that's quite a useful piece of knowledge to know, right? So if you want to add any two values together, you can use this simple formula. Now, if we were to write in something like 110 point, let's say 100, let's just do that again. Let's do 100 spot 5, and then we do like 52 spot 5, right? So the numbers are got decimal places in them. So we could write a new formula again underneath. So let's just do that for practice. We'll do equals A2. So I'm going to type it in. So I can type in the A2 value rather than clicking on the cell, and then plus B2. And hit enter, and we'll get that value 153. So if we did something like 78.6 plus 45.6, right? So the other way to generate this value here is to copy the formula from above and paste it below. But what we can do is, if we move our mouse cursor, you can see my mouse cursor is a plus sign and it's a white color. You can see that here, right? Right now it's white color. If I move it to the very bottom right hand corner, and if I left click and drag down, you'll see that we can drag the formula down. So when we click here, if we double click inside, you'll see now it says A3 plus B3. And whenever you double click inside of a cell that's got a formula inside of it, press the escape key to come out of that cell. So if you double click inside and start clicking on other cells, it might cause a problem. So always use the escape key to escape the cell there. Let's go ahead and save this. This is just adding two numbers together. So let's see how we can subtract numbers as well. Okay, so in this example, we added some numbers together. How do we subtract numbers? So let's just put some random numbers in here. Let's start off with some round numbers, right? So like 48 and let's do 23. So we can, just in the same logic that we wrote this formula here, we can just use the minus key on our keyboard. So we can just do equals, and then we can do A5. So we can type in A5 to target that cell, and then we just press the minus key on our keyboard, and then we can type in B5, right? Let's just do B5, and then hit enter, and then we'll get that value there. 48 minus 23 equals 25. So in this formula, we just use the minus sign rather than the plus sign. So we can go ahead and do other obscure numbers like 1053.9. So we can have like quite long numbers, and then we can do 456.8. So we could minus these two values, and we can do that by either retyping in the formula, or just click here, get the plus, the black plus square, the icon. It should go to this cross, the black cross, and then we can drag down, and we'll get that value there. So we can easily now manipulate lots of data quite quickly and do calculations quite quickly. We can now add numbers together and we can subtract them. Let's just do one more. Let's just do some random numbers. and we'll type in the formula this time, right? Let's do, in fact, let's do a minus value, right? So if we do 45.8 minus 53, we should end up with a minus value. So we can do equals A7 minus B7 and hit enter, and then we get minus 7.4, because when we take 45.8 and we minus a greater number than that, we should end up with a minus value. Okay, so let's have a look at dividing numbers. So if we go into this cell here and if we type in 145 and we wanted to divide it by 6, we can do equals A9, or we can click on the cell. So we can either click on the cell or just type in A9. So that will, clicking on the cell will basically give us A9. And then we can hit the question mark here on our keyboard, but if we hit that, we get this backslash, right? That's the divide symbol in Excel. And then we can click on number 6 here and then hit enter. And 45 divided by 6 is this value here, 24.16666. We can check that in a calculator quickly. So we can open up a calculator. We can paste that in there. We can do divided by 6. And we'll get the same value, 24.666, and so forth, right? So let's just do another example. Whenever a cell is highlighted like this, you can press the escape key to deselect it, yeah? Press the escape key. So let's do something like 456 divided by 2. Let's divide that by 2 value. So that should be quite easy anyway, but we just do equals this value divided by this value. And we get 288, and then we can have decimal places, so we can do 108.4, and we could divide that by, let's divide it by 4. And if we do equals this value divided by 4 and hit enter, we get 27.1. Okay, so that we've done addition, we've done subtraction, and now we've done division as well. So in Excel, we can actually use formulas to combine two words together. So a good example of this, let's just click on this E cell up here. Let's just type in James, the first name, and let's type in Bond as a surname. Let's type in Kelly. Let's do Smith. We'll just do a few names here. And then let's type in Manish Shah. Right, so we've got 3 different names here. Now we can use a formula to join those names together. So if you've got a spreadsheet full of people's first name and last name, and then you just want their first name, last name in a cell together, we can use a formula to join these names together. So I'm going to show you how to do this. Let's double click in this cell and we're going to type in equals, and then we do James, and then as an incorrect example, you may think of using the plus sign and then click Bond, right? Just as we added these 2 numbers together, can we add these 2 values together? And if we hit enter, we're going to get an error, right? So when we're adding text-based values together, we have to do it slightly differently. So we're going to do equals James, and we're going to use the ampersand, and then we're going to click on Bond, and then we're going to hit the enter key. And now we get James Bond here. But we can see there's a problem. There's no space between the names, because in the formula we just did E1 and F1, so we didn't actually tell Excel to put a space in between. So let's show you how to do that here. Let's click back in here and we can do James, so we can click on E1, then we can do ampersand, and then we're going to do a speech mark, and we're going to hit the spacebar key. We'll do a speech mark again, then we'll click on then we'll do another ampersand, and then we'll click on Bond like this, and now hit enter, and now we've got James Bond with a space. So we can actually highlight these 2 cells, and using our black cursor we can drag down and we can generate the other names here as well, like this. So that's pretty cool that we can add names together. So if you've got some spreadsheet with maybe a list of staff members, or maybe some other information that you've collected, data capture, and you've got the first name and last name separate, but you want to put it all into one column, now you know how to do that in Microsoft Excel. Okay, so let's try and do something a little bit more complex with text values. So let's go ahead and select all of these. I'm going to left click here, drag my mouse down to highlight all of these cells. I'm going to press Ctrl+C to copy, and then I'm going to press Ctrl+V here on this cell to paste those values, and I'm going to press the escape key. So now I've got those same values below, and I want to generate some email addresses. So we've kind of done part of the work here already, right? We've got James Bond as one word, and typically email addresses would have one word. They might have like a dot in between the names or a hyphen, but let's assume that we just want to have the name like this in an email address. So we could actually copy this formula, but let's just rewrite it for practice. So we do equals James, and then we'll do ampersand. We'll do ampersand, and then we'll do bond, and we'll hit enter. So now we've got the name as one word, because email addresses cannot contain spaces in them, right? So we could put a hyphen in there if we wanted to, or we could put a dot in there. But let's continue with just the name like this. Now we want to have an email address, right? So we need the end part of the domain name. So let's do @dcpweb.co.uk, and we'll hit enter. So it says that is not a function. The problem here is using the @ sign is causing a problem here. So what we need to do is tell Excel that these values here, or these cells, are going to just be text-based values. So if I highlight them, right click and go to format cell here and tell it to be only text value. It's not a general, it's just going to be text content only. Then click OK. Then I can do @ dcpweb.co.uk, and then we can use that to generate the email address. So let's copy this, Control-C, then Control-V, and then Control-V to paste it down. Or you can just delete this, and you can use our little black cursor here, and we can just drag down like this, and it will copy those values down. So now we have the name and we have the email address separately. So you should really know how to do this now, right? You can click here, you can do equals this value, ampersand this value, and then hit enter, and now you've got an email address. And now you can click here and you can drag down with the black cursor, and you can generate the email addresses this way, right? You can do the same thing with website addresses, for example. So let's take another example. Let's say I want to generate some website URLs, right, for my business, right? So I could do something like, I could type in here website design. Let's just make this a little bit bigger. So I could type in website design, I could type in e-commerce, or these could be different pages on my website, right? E-commerce. We could do, let's say for example, logo design, right? So we've got 3 different examples here. Then I can put in my website address, https://www.dcpweb.co.uk, and then slash, I'll put a slash at the end, and hit enter. Now when I hit enter, automatically Excel is going to make that into a clickable link. So I can click on that, then just right click and then say remove hyperlink. So it's just text based now, yeah? So we want to take these 2 values to generate the URL. So we can just do equals this value, ampersand, and then this value, and then hit enter. And now we've got the website link created for us. So you could create many different text links here. So we could do one for SEO, for example, and then we can just click on this value. In fact, we can just basically click on both of them. In fact, we'll do this one first. We can then drag down, and then we can click on this value and drag that one down as well. And now you've got all of the extensions for all of your different website pages. So we could test that by copying this link, going to, let's just open up Google Chrome, and then we could paste in that link, and it will take you directly to that website page, right? That happens to be this page right here, website design, and we've got e-commerce website design. So if I were to copy that text there and paste it into e-commerce website design here, we would have the correct URL here. So sometimes when I'm thinking about building blog posts, or I'm thinking about making some other sub pages on my website, sometimes I'll do this in Excel first. So I can generate all of the URLs, I could do metadata, I could get a lot of information into Excel about what I'm trying to achieve on a website project, and I could generate lots of URLs quite quickly and make sure that they are all SEO friendly URLs, right? We want to make sure our URLs are SEO friendly. Okay, let's try and do something maybe a little bit interesting. Maybe we want to generate like some YouTube thumbnail URLs, right? So in Excel, we can actually do this. Let's just show you how I do this. So here's my YouTube channel. So maybe some of you guys are already subscribed. If you haven't, please do. But you can see lots of videos that I've created on a wide range of subjects. And I use this piece of software. It's called 𝗧𝗯𝗹𝗲. It's got a strange name, but it is what it is. And when you click on here, you can see this is automation software for social media posting, right? You can social media, you can post like 1 month in advance, you can post all your social media networks. It's quite a useful tool. But with this tool, I do a lot of data importing. So it allows me to import a spreadsheet with lots of information, maybe about all my YouTube videos or all the recent ones. Then I can automate and post this across my social media without having to think about it too much, right? But one of the things I needed to do was to generate YouTube thumbnails to put inside the spreadsheet for 𝗧𝗯𝗹𝗲, right? Plus some other information like the title of the YouTube video and the description and stuff like that. So to do that, if you go into Excel, as an example, this is just an example, I can click on this. If I click here, if I scroll down and go to here and then click download, I can actually see the URL for this thumbnail. So if I delete this text here, I don't really need this part of the text. Here you can see like the URL. So if I were to copy this URL and take it into Excel, let's just go into Excel. Let's zoom out a little bit here. Let's just paste it here for now. And there's some common parts to this URL and there's some unique parts. So let's select this part of the URL and cut it. And we're just going to click here. So we can say this is the beginning part of the URL. Then we can paste the part that we just cut. And this is the YouTube video ID. And then we've got this max default text here. Right? So we've got these three distinct parts to the URL for this thumbnail URL. So what I could do now is I could write a formula, right? So I could do equals this value ampersand this value and then another ampersand and then finally this value and hit enter. So if I were to copy this link and paste it into the web browser or use that in my social media posting, it would actually grab that thumbnail. So we could test that by opening up the web browser, and when we paste in that URL, you'll get the thumbnail here. If I go back to YouTube now, and if I click on another video, let's click on this one, for example, the one below. And if I copy this piece of text here, not the whole link, but just the end part, just copy it, and then go back to here and paste it into here. We can just right click and remove the link. We could copy this, paste it below. We could copy this, paste it, and then copy the formula and paste that as well. Then if we were to copy this link here and go back to the browser and paste it, we'll get the thumbnail generated, right? So as long as I know what the ID is for the video, I can now go into Excel and generate all of the thumbnails for them quite quickly. I could do that quite quick. Okay, so that's just some basic examples of using Excel to create different types of data using formulas, right? This is a very basic example, but if you check the link in the YouTube description, I'll put a link to some more sort of complex formulas that you can use. A lot of the automated ones that are in Excel as well, like the average, the if, the count value, the sign, and the max. All of these other types of pre-built formulas that you can use within Excel to do other types of calculations, right? So this was just a basic overview of using formulas. So hopefully you find this useful. Maybe all of these joining text ones, these are the ones that you're going to find more useful, but there's some basic calculation formulas here as well. So I use a lot of these formulas in Excel when I'm working on web projects, or I'm just doing data analysis, or I want to create some sort of custom URLs or some custom text. Without having to type everything in manually, I'll use Excel formulas. Okay, let's go ahead and minimize this screen. That's the end of this tutorial. Hopefully you find it useful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next DCP Web tutorial.